My name is Simon Carter, and in the next 7 minutes, I'm going to basically spit in the face of every so-called manifestation guru or teacher who's been sucking cash out of your pocket and tricking you into paying for manifestation or law of attraction products that simply don't work, or you get minimal results. I'll reveal the reason why everything you've tried so far to manifest a better life are all just cheap copies or faded Xerox versions of something else, way more powerful and ancient. Something that's been hidden from you by the Church and the Vatican for over 2,000 years. Something you won't find on the World Wide Web, or even the dark web. Yet it's the reason why the elites of the world are able to manifest vast amounts of money at will out of thin air. Some say it's why Jeffrey Epstein amassed millions after multiple personal audiences with the Pope, or why a billion-dollar institution like the Vatican holds some of the most valuable artwork and gold in the world, or why the Pope has a white Lamborghini like this. This ancient abundant secret was revealed to me just when I needed it most. When I was at my lowest point, I had a chance encounter with a maverick priest. The abundant secret lies in a lost gospel buried in the 52 miles of shelving in the ancient Vatican library. A gospel widely considered to be the original gospel, predating all others. An entire section of the Bible missing, banned by the Church, a carefully guarded secret for over 2,000 years, containing the original text on how humans can manifest abundance effortlessly from God, surrounded by mystery and danger, and perhaps making you angry at the elites who hid it from the public for centuries. The wealth attraction secret inside this lost gospel holds the key to activating a tiny part of your brain believed for centuries to be our sacred connection point or spiritual bridge to God or the divine, the original and only true source of abundance and miracles. And you don't have to be religious for this to work for you. Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, or atheist, it doesn't matter. Every human being on earth has the power to use the secret in this missing gospel of abundance to experience money worries disappearing, true freedom, a life of unshakable security. No matter how tough or difficult life is for you right now, money and other miracles from the divine will finally have a channel to flow into your life. Skeptical? I don't blame you. But 12,989 people in over 13 countries so far have transformed their lives thanks to this ancient miracle of effortless abundance attraction. Out of respect to them, I will only keep this page up for a limited time. Today is the day you rewrite your life script and live the kind of life you could only dream of before, where exotic holidays on white sandy beaches, palatial homes, and first-class everything become the norm, not the exception. And just a quick word of warning, if you don't have an open mind and are only concerned with yourself and not helping others in your community or your family, best click away now. This is not for you. My name is Simon Carter, and I'm the last person I ever thought would be writing a letter like this to you. Because while I'm rich beyond my wildest dreams today, most of my life was spent scrimping and saving, just about keeping my head above the water financially. I always felt like there was something I was missing, stuck on the financial hamster wheel and working grueling long hours, and having any little bit of cash I could save swept away by some unexpected utility bill or car payment. Maybe you can relate. And like many people out there, I tried just about everything to get some financial security in my life, including studying the law of attraction, getting involved with different network marketing opportunities, only to find myself with an empty bank account. I worked extra hours and even had another job for a while, but I never managed to move the needle on my bank account. I felt like I was somehow cursed always to be poor. If you're a parent, or even if you just have a heart, I'm sure you can relate to how I felt one morning when my daughter, Kate, padded into the living room, hopped up on my knee and said, "It's all wet and cold in my bedroom." Puzzled by what she meant, I followed Kate into the bedroom and saw there was a leak in the ceiling above her bed. After talking to the roofing guy the next day, I was told it was a bigger structural problem above the room. The bottom line? I was looking at $6,000 to fix the ceiling. My heart sank. It might as well have been $60,000. Where was I going to get that kind of money? To make matters worse, my wife Marie was no help at the time. "What kind of man can't even make sure his daughter's room is safe and dry?" she roared in frustration at me. In my mind, she was right. How did it come to this? I thought to myself. Always just about scraping by, never having enough for the extras, the nice vacations to sunny beaches, the memories a man is supposed to make with his family. I felt like a failure as a man, as a father. And just when you think life cannot get any worse, it does. I got a call from the nursing home my elderly mother was staying in later that day. She was 89 and had been there since my father had died the previous year. The monthly fees for the home were going up. I was sharing the payment with my brother and sister. All of our monthly contributions would go up by at least $300. I loved my mom and wanted her to be as comfortable as possible in her final years, but had zero idea how I was supposed to come up with this money. My stomach clenched up with worry and frustration. I needed some space, just some time and distance to work out what to do. That space came by chance 2 days later. The little newspaper I worked for was doing an article on a special priest who had a church just outside the Vatican City in Italy. He had been donating large sums of money to charities recently. One was a charity in my hometown, Houston, and my editor was interested in learning more about him. 3 days later, I was sent on a budget flight to meet Father Michael in a coffee shop in Vatican City, Italy. Little did I know that this chance meeting would change my entire perception of truth and power, and what we can manifest in life when we connect to the divine. I was to meet Father Michael in a little espresso coffee shop on the corner of St. Peter's Square. As I walked across the cobblestones on the square, the aroma of espresso filled my nostrils. Although not religious or belonging to any faith in particular, I thought of the secrets and history each stone in the buildings must hold. The whole city is a testament to man's struggle for transcendence and a better life. Father Michael was easy to spot at the back of the coffee shop. He looked just like the picture my editor had given me, small and slightly overweight with a thick beard and dancing, sparking blue eyes. "Welcome to the Vatican City. You must be Simon," he said warmly. Simon, also known as Peter, is my favorite apostle, the apostle with the strongest faith and most willing to spread the gospel of Jesus after his death. "Perhaps you'll spread the gospel for me," he laughed. I wasn't quite sure how to answer. Father Michael just laughed a great big belly laugh. We soon got down to business, covering the notes and questions my editor had given me. Father Michael had been a priest for 30 years, starting in a small church in the south of Italy, and now found himself in the center of it all in the Vatican City. He'd caught the attention of my paper because of all the donations his church had made to various charities globally. And most recently, his church was a major contributor to a new wing in a children's hospital in my city of Houston. He was super friendly as we covered the story. As we finished with the questions, we started talking more. "You have a heaviness hanging over you, Simon. I can feel it, like a heavy weight or chain you're carrying around your neck." I don't know if it was his piercing blue eyes that looked at you with no judgment in them, or his kind, accepting face. But in that moment, my emotional walls collapsed, and it all spilled out. I told him about my struggle to support my family, despite everything I had tried, the lack of support from my wife, Marie. I even told him about the hole in the roof of my daughter's bedroom, and the structural work I could not afford to fix. Michael let me talk, never interrupted me. He looked at me with kindness. I could feel the support in his look, as if I was being given a warm hug. "This is going to sound a little crazy," he said. "What I'm about to tell you, I have never shared in public, but I feel God, or the divine universe, does not make mistakes, and has guided you here to be with me in this place at this time. There are no coincidences. You are wondering how I've managed to send such large donations from my church to different charities worldwide. You may find the real answer to that question hard to believe, and the power I discovered years ago to help anyone become a magnet for abundance. It's 20 years now since I came to the Vatican City. I was only ordained as a priest for 3 years at the time. My first appointment was to the Vatican Library, as I was a qualified librarian before joining the priesthood. One of the first things that fascinated me about the Vatican Library is the 52 miles of shelving of ancient manuscripts, holy texts, and gospels. Many of these shelves are full of ancient manuscripts and gospels the church keeps hidden or secret. There are many gospels that never made the final edit of the Bible that are never talked about that much. These gospels not only scratch the surface of what the church is really keeping secret, but give valuable clues as to what could create abundant lives for all people. These gospels are known as non-canonical gospels. Some of these gospels are the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Barnabas, and even the Gospel of Judas. But there are many more Gospels and ancient manuscripts the church keeps hidden or secret on their 52 miles of shelving that the world will never hear about. One day, while doing some filing in a remote part of the library, I came across something very strange. The Vatican Library, also known as the Vatican Apostolic Library, is one of the oldest libraries in the world. It was established by Pope Nicholas V in the 15th century. It's 549 years old. It's rumored the Vatican Library is full of secret doors with ancient switches that control them. I had heard about them, but I had never seen one for myself. As I pulled back the spine on one book on one of the ancient shelves, a hidden door opened to my left in the wall. My heart pounded in my chest as I looked into the hidden space. I stepped inside to see many old, dusty manuscripts and books. One book in particular looked much older than the rest. It caught my attention immediately, as I felt strangely drawn to it. As I opened it up and flicked through its pages, I thought to myself, it couldn't be. It was. The Gospel of Q. What's the Gospel of Q? I asked Father Michael. The Gospel of Q is a hypothetical document that some scholars propose is the source of all other Gospels, inside and outside the Bible. Q stands for the German word Quell, which means source. It's like the ultimate hidden source code for all the material in the Bible, and the ultimate source code for all manifestation strategies. The truth is, the Gospel of Q has been hidden from the general public by the Vatican for centuries. The reason why? It contains the original teachings of Jesus on how a man can be the master of his own destiny by sharing manifesting secrets unparalleled in any other book or by any other guru. A man who can manifest with the original gospel secrets taught by Jesus in the lost Gospel of Q cannot be controlled by a billion-dollar powerhouse like the church or any other elite organizations. The church's biggest fear is an empowered congregation that finds God or abundance within. Think about it, Simon. Jesus was the ultimate manifesting master, the ultimate manipulator of the physical world around him. He could create miracles out of thin air. He could heal the sick, raise the dead, control the weather, turn water into wine, walk on water. And he conveyed many times how the powers he possessed were possessed by any one of us who know how to access this power within ourselves. The kingdom of God is within, he used to say, encouraging us to see the power we possess within. He also said, anyone who believes in me will do the same works I have done, and even greater works. John 14:12. These are hints in the modern Bible of the untapped manifesting power we all have inside. Inside the lost Gospel of Q, there were many passages and prayers relating to the third eye, or the pineal gland, and its role in manifesting. There are many hints and clues of this in the modern Bible too, of how we can use the most divine, powerful part of our minds to connect with the divine and with unlimited abundance. The pineal gland, or third eye, is a tiny pea-sized gland in the middle of our forehead, recognized by ancient Egyptians as our connection to the divine and other worlds, and recognized as a divine part of our brain or minds too in the Bible, like a spiritual bridge to the divine. For instance, Matthew 6:22-23 says, "The eye is the lamp of the body." This passage suggests that the eye mentioned symbolizes inner vision or spiritual insight. It's using light as a metaphor for the pineal gland, or the third eye. And Genesis 32:30 says, "So Jacob called the place Peniel, saying, 'It is because I saw God, and yet my life was spared.'" The name Peniel is the pineal gland. Jacob's encounter with God at Peniel symbolizes spiritual enlightenment or awakening of inner powers, which are symbolically connected to the pineal gland's role in higher consciousness. Even more modern thinkers have recognized the power of the pineal gland or third eye in Christianity and the Bible. René Descartes, the great 17th century philosopher, calls the third eye or pineal gland the seat of the soul, or the seat of abundance. Sometimes the most powerful secrets for manifestation are hiding in plain sight, like the cone-shaped statue outside the Vatican that dates back to ancient Roman times, known as the pine cone, or in Italian, pigna. It's no coincidence the pineal gland in our brains is also pine-shaped. Some other signs of the wealth and power the pineal gland attracts when you access its ability to connect with the divine using the closely guarded secrets of the Gospel of Q are a little less subtle, like this Lamborghini the Pope was seen with, or the billions of dollars in the Vatican bank, or the wealthy elites the Vatican has been connected with for many centuries, right up to modern times. As seen in the pictures of billionaire Jeffrey Epstein and his ex-partner holding a private audience with John Paul II at the Vatican almost 20 years ago. Inside the Gospel of Q, I found more passages about the power of the pineal gland to connect us with the divine and transform our reality. I copied all the prayers I could find related to the third eye or pineal gland and recited them daily in church to see what effect they had. After 6 months of research and trial and error, I found there was one particular prayer in the Q Gospel that is said to activate its power to connect with the divine and attract abundance like nothing else. This prayer activates the third eye chakra and connects us with intuition, insight, and higher consciousness. The prayer I found in the Gospel of Q to activate the pineal gland took just 7 minutes to recite. 7 is an interesting number as it represents completion and perfection in manifestation. In the book of Genesis, the world was created in 7 days. The book of Revelation, particularly, is filled with sevens. 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 bowls of wrath. These symbolize divine intervention and the revelation of God's plan for the world to help man open up his third eye, or seat of the soul, and manifest his wishes at will by connecting the manifesting power of Christ himself. The first time I shared the 7-minute prayer was with a poor family that would come to my church for food parcels. The father of the house was a good man, but due to an injury at work, he was no longer able to work as a mechanic. I told him to recite the prayer once a day for 7 minutes. Nothing happened at first, and things even got a little worse as some of their child welfare payment was cut off. 2 months later, though, something remarkable happened. The back injury that had stopped him from working started to improve, even though the doctors said it never would. 2 months after that, he was pain-free and able to return to work again and support his family. I then shared the 7-minute prayer from the Gospel of Q with a friend who worked for a charity on the west coast of Africa. He was having trouble getting funding to feed the village his charity supports. This was going to lead to a serious food shortage. 3 weeks after saying the prayer from the Gospel of Q, they got an anonymous donation from a mysterious benefactor of over $300,000. This meant they could feed the villagers for years to come, and they even set up a new clean water irrigation system, so they are now self-sufficient. I was fascinated with these occurrences, but I had to ask myself, were they miracles or just a coincidence? I had to know more. So I contacted an old friend of mine from the seminary college who had gone on to study neuroscience. After gathering a group of people together for a study, we found brain scans done on people who said the 7-minute prayer from the Gospel of Q showed a clearing of calcification in their pineal gland area. Our pineal glands tend to get calcified or blocked over time from a buildup of deposits of calcium, which get lodged in the gland. The neurons were firing better in the pineal gland area of their brains too after saying the 7-minute prayer, and precious inactive neural connections were coming to life again. Subjects in the experiments started to experience good fortune like never before. Some won raffles and draws they entered. One of them won a car. Another got an inheritance from nowhere, and a sizable lotto win for another. I knew I had discovered something very special. Further studies of brain scans found that certain things like exposure to 5G waves suppress the functioning of the pineal gland. Perhaps that's why the National Institute of Health found melatonin level disruption in the pineal glands of people exposed to 5G radiation. There was also evidence of how fluoride in the water negatively affects the pineal gland and blocks its activity, proving the results of some studies that found fluoride blocked up or calcified the pineal gland. So for most people, no matter how much they try to manifest, the desire for abundance never comes true because of their blocked pineal gland. My neuroscience friend found the words of the prayer from the Gospel of Q resonated at a frequency of 432 Hz. Interestingly enough, this frequency is known as the God frequency in healing circles. I now know this to be true from our experiments and seeing how it opened up and cleared people's pineal glands and transformed their lives. Michael looked from left to right and slid a black notebook with the 7-minute prayer inside it from the Q Gospel across the table. "It's time to turn your life around," he said. "Use this to improve your life and the life of your family. Tell your community and the world about it." As a priest so close to the Vatican, the powers that be and the elites in this organization will not like me going public with this. I would fear for my life. He reminded me of the story of Emanuela Orlandi, who was the daughter of a Vatican employee and lived within Vatican City. The circumstances surrounding her disappearance are murky, with multiple theories suggesting she may have been involved in Vatican financial scandals or targeted due to her family's connections to the Vatican. But you can spread the word about the 7-minute prayer in this Gospel of Q, Father Michael said. I thanked Father Michael for his interview and his gift, but I wasn't quite sure what to think. That night back at the hotel, I listened to the prayer. I felt a strange peace come over me after 7 minutes, like I was slipping into a warm bath. The next day on the plane home, I kept thinking about my meeting with Father Michael. I got to admit, the whole thing sounded far-fetched, and I thought he might be full of it. But I listened to the prayer again on the flight home a few times. When I eventually landed back home in Houston again, I hoped deep inside that something had changed, that I had entered a new reality. But despite my wish, nothing happened. In fact, things got worse. I got a speeding ticket on the way home from the airport. That was the last thing I needed, and when I did eventually get home, I was greeted by my angry and frustrated wife, Marie. The water heater had given out. God knows how many thousands of dollars it would cost to fix it. I started to think this whole Gospel of Q thing and its 7-minute prayer was all BS. I wanted to believe it so much, but now I just felt foolish, embarrassed. I was ready to give up on the whole thing there and then, because, nothing had happened. I went out to a local bar that night to grab a quick beer. It was the only thing I could think of to do at that moment. And while at the bar, something strange happened. The barman told me a stranger had paid for my drink. Could this be a coincidence? Who knows? It was too soon to tell. I thought no more about it until 2 weeks later when a strange, official-looking letter arrived on my doormat. My heart started thumping in my chest as I thought it was a legal letter from the bank or something. It turns out a great aunt I was vaguely familiar with had left us $40,000. It's not a life-changing fortune by any means, but more than enough for me to get the roof in Katie's room repaired and the water heater fixed. My daughter Katie threw her arms around me. Thank you, Daddy. I love my new room. I later learned from the lawyer that my aunt had only changed her will in the last 2 to 3 weeks. Around the time, I was using the 7-minute wealth prayer from the Gospel of Q for the first time. It was just what I needed. Now, call it fate again or just dumb luck, but a month later, I did another interview with a crypto NFT guy who was making more money than anyone else in the sector. I invested half of my $40,000 in his brand new NFT program and ended up getting 100 times return. I was bursting with excitement and joy. I couldn't believe it. Even though I was astounded at what was happening, I didn't go out and splurge all the money on fast cars and new houses. I put the money in the bank and kept pretty quiet about it. I wasn't quite sure what to do with this information. The first person we tried it on was Marie's brother. He was struggling as a used car salesperson at the company he was with. He understandably thought it was a pretty crazy idea at first, but after we persuaded him to try it, he became the top salesperson in his company after just 2 months, improving his sales by 500%. He's now in talks to open his own dealership. He says the 7-minute prayer at least once a week. My wife Marie also started using the 7-minute prayer too, listening to it on her earphones once a day. After just 1 or 2 days, she came to me crying, telling me she was so sorry for treating me the way she did. She wanted to be a better, more supportive wife to me. We've never been happier since that day. She also got a totally unexpected promotion and pay raise and effortlessly shed 20 stubborn pounds of unwanted fat she had been trying to lose for years. We introduced the prayer to Linda, a friend of hers. Linda was 35 and desperately wanted to marry and have a family. The only trouble was, the men she met always wanted her for her body and never wanted to settle down. Within a week of listening to the 7-minute prayer, everything changed overnight. She met a man who was a doctor in the local hospital in her apartment block. They are now happily married and expecting their first child, a beautiful baby girl. We set up a small Facebook group. Initially, it was only for family and friends, but then it grew from there. Every week, stories of people landing promotions flooded in, having unexpected cash windfalls, and finding themselves never needing to work ever again. Many even found long-standing ailments the doctors were unable to help, clearing up almost miraculously. I came up with a name for this 7-minute prayer from the Gospel of Q. The Q Code Prayer was born. The 7-minute prayer from the Gospel of Q that attracts abundance into your life effortlessly. There's literally nothing like this anywhere on the planet. While other people are out there grinding through their working week, clocking up 40, 50, or even 60 hours, you can live a much more laid-back life where money and your dreams chase you for a change. Just listen to the Q Code Prayer for 7 minutes a day and let cash, opportunities, and good fortune flow into your life. You can bypass all the ways out there that people normally try to get wealthy. You can forget wasting your time and energy on playing the lottery, watching your latest crypto investment tank again, along with your hard-earned money. You won't have to take on extra work and lose most of it with taxes, or get into tens of thousands of dollars of unforgivable debt for some college degree that will be outdated in a few years. You don't have to do any of that. That's why I'm delighted to give you instant access to the Q Code Prayer today. It's your escape hatch out of the rat race, away from the daily grind, and off the constant cycle of whatever money you do manage to save being swept away by some unexpected bill. None of that is your fault. It's just how the elites set the system up, designing it to keep you a slave, designing it so you stay broke and keep working for them. You will join the thousands of people who are using the Q Code Prayer to transform their lives and finances in a flash. People like Matt Cooper from Florida, who says, "I was tossing and turning in bed at night, wondering how I was going to cope with not having enough money for retirement, which is approaching fast. I've worked my whole life, but still struggled to get by. Since listening to the Q Code Prayer, I've come into money in the most unexpected ways, like a surprise scratch card win. My bank account and my future is looking brighter than ever." Or people like Sarah Rogers from London, UK, who says, "I had always struggled to sell any of my art. It was a dream of mine to be able to make a living from my painting, something that I love to do. About a week after listening to the Q Code Prayer, I received a phone call from an art dealer asking if I would like to be part of his exhibition. I sold nearly all my paintings at the exhibition and am in talks with another gallery for a much larger exhibition in 6 months." Or Linda from Portland, Maine in the USA, who said, "I had been working on my online craft business for years and never managed to make enough to even cover costs. Since the Q Code Prayer has come into my life, all that has changed. The sales in my online store skyrocketed overnight, and now I have more money coming in than I ever thought possible." Using the Q Code Prayer is as easy as 1, 2, 3. When you get up in the morning, just pop on a set of earphones and listen to the Q Code Prayer in the background. 7 minutes is all it takes. Once you're finished listening, just have your coffee and go about your day. It couldn't be any more simple. Then just sit back and watch as wealth of all kinds comes flowing into your life. I have to warn you though, your ability to claim the Q Code Prayer for yourself on this page today might be gone soon. This Q Code Prayer was never supposed to get out into the public domain. It was supposed to be a secret the Vatican and their fellow uber-rich wealthy elites kept to themselves. It's been that way for centuries. When there's trillions of dollars involved and the global control the Vatican and elites have over people, things can get real serious real quick. We have already had 2 unexplained break-ins to our premises and a number of attempts to crash our website. These events are no coincidence. I have since moved operations to another facility, but I want to get this out to as many people as possible while I still can. I don't want the elites of this world to keep a stranglehold on wealth any longer. So if you think you might be interested in the Q Code Prayer and would like to take it for a risk-free test drive, you should hit the instant access button below and claim your copy today while you still can. So you might be wondering, how much? Well, let me get something straight. This is not about money for me. I could sell the Q Code Prayer to the highest bidders if it was just about money. There are plenty of wealthy people who would want to be even wealthier. I don't even have to sell the Q Code Prayer. I could disappear tomorrow on a yacht, travel around the world to exotic locations, and never be seen again. I couldn't do that though, and keep this prayer to myself. I remember all too well what it's like to struggle to get money. I remember what it's like not even to have enough to make a simple house repair. That's why I could never take the advice of numerous people who got the Q Code Prayer and told me to charge $10,000 for it. I know the people who need this the most simply don't have that kind of money available. I promised Father Michael I would get this out to as many people as possible. I could never do that unless I was asking for an amount that would make the Q Code Prayer as accessible as possible. That's why you don't have to invest $10,000 today, or half of that at $5,000, or half of that again, or even half of that again. Nowhere near that. You can get immediate access to the Q Code Prayer today for not even the price of a few coffees at Starbucks, less than a tank of gas, and less than a meal for 2 in an average restaurant. Once you hit the instant button, you'll be taken immediately to an order form where you can enter your details. You will then be sent the Q Code Prayer immediately. There is nothing to post, so you save up to $10 on shipping because this is a digital product. Just hit the instant button below right now. And rest assured, Your decision to get the Q Code prayer is completely risk-free. You are protected by an ironclad 365-day money-back guarantee. Here's how that works. Simply download the Q Code prayer here right now. Listen to the prayer on a special recording for the next 30 days and watch as money, wealth, abundance, and good fortune come flooding into your life. I have no doubt they will. And if for any reason or no reason you are not completely satisfied, simply shoot me an email and you will be provided with a refund immediately. Essentially, you are risking nothing here. You also get to keep the Q Code prayer and all the bonuses, so all the risk is on my shoulders. You're just taking the Q Code prayer for a test drive. Just click the Instant Access button below right now with zero risk on your part. You're at a crossroads right now. You can close out this page and try to forget you ever read it. Keep working as hard as you can. Maybe even take on extra work and hope for the best you get the results you're looking for. But ask yourself this: how has doing what you're doing so far worked out for you? If you do nothing today, you probably know where you'll be in 1 month, 2 months, or even 3 months from now. You're in the same place right now, right? Still struggling to have the kind of life you want? Ask yourself, is that the kind of life you really want? Or would you rather take an easier road, a road that leads to more money, more free time, more happiness, more peace in your life, where your money worries evaporate, where you wake up when you want and live life on your own terms? Travel more, spend more time with your family, or just work on lowering your golf score. It's completely up to you. I think you know the fact you're here right now means your mind is open to trying something new, completely risk-free. Imagine what your life could be like if you weren't focused on money all the time. The truth is, unless you get your money problem solved, it will always dominate your life and enslave you. Don't let that happen. Live the life of freedom you deserve today. Hit the Instant Access button below right now and claim the Q Code prayer and bonuses now. Still here? I'm not surprised. We covered a lot of ground here today. Here are the answers to some of the most common questions we get asked on a regular basis. I've tried the law of attraction and a number of different wealth attraction methods before. How do I know this will work for me? That's a good question. The fact is, this prayer is different from anything you might have tried before. It comes from one of the wealthiest organizations on Earth, the Vatican. It's also backed by firm science, as it opens your pineal gland to attract wealth and abundance like never before. Other people ask, is my payment information protected? The answer here is yes. You are purchasing today through ClickBank, one of the largest global retailers of information products. They use a 256-bit military-grade security system, the same one Amazon uses. Your information will be protected at all times. Some people ask, how does the guarantee work again? The guarantee makes this decision today risk-free and stress-free. You're just taking the Q Code prayer for a test drive. If you don't like it for any reason or no reason, simply contact me for a full and complete refund. So go ahead. You have nothing to lose. Hit the Instant Access button below right now, and I'll see you on the other side.